My name is Willy Bolander. I study influence, persuasion, and leadership in selling and sales management, and I teach people how to sell. In this podcast, we'll talk to some of the world's top sales leaders and see what we can learn from them. Welcome to the Sales Lab. This episode is brought to you by Rainmakers. But here's the thing, it's not the word Rainmakers. It's the word Rainmakers with no vowels. RNMKRS, Rainmakers. How will artificial intelligence change the future of sales? Will it help us do more, replace us? Join Rainmakers virtual sales competition to see AI in action, helping thousands of students get massive role-play practice and feedback on a bias-free level playing field, and it's free. To join the movement, go to rainmakers.org. Again, that's RNMKRS, Rainmakers with no vowels.org. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Sales Lab. Today, we have part one of a three-part series with Anna Ostrowski. I'm still not sure I'm saying that right. Sorry, Anna. She's got a lot of energy, a little bit younger than some of our other guests, but has been really turning things upside down over at Henry Schein Dental. In this first part, we're going to talk a little bit about her transition from backpack in college to briefcase in the professional world, the importance of creative time, the idea of running into the fire. Salespeople run into the fire. And a good bit about mentorship. What's in it for the mentors to help you? Some words about crying in a CVS parking lot. And great quote. We'll actually use it for the title of the next episode. Genuine curiosity is a superpower. While I've got you here, let me point out a couple things. Each of our guests have book recommendations that they make at the end of the interview. And if you go to thesaleslab.org, you can actually click on the link to see everybody's book recommendations. Easy place to go. And, I get emails quite a bit. People saying, hey, where should I start? Where can I go to get more information? And the answer is, well, go to the saleslab.org and check out the reading list. The other thing that I would like to point out is we've got a lot of platforms that you could be liking and subscribing to things on. If you are listening to it on a podcast, make sure you jump over to YouTube and listen there as well. Click the bell so that you get notifications and all that. That would be very helpful. We have just about enough episodes to wrap up season 1, so stay tuned. They should be coming relatively quickly here on out. Thanks again for tuning into the Sales Lab. Hope you get something out of it. When Pat sent the email saying, hey, you need to talk to Anna, you had just given a presentation about something specific.
Yes.
What was it that you were talking about with the students?
So I did a presentation called From Backpack to Briefcase. So I'm actually only 24. I graduated college in 2018 and I started my career in sales. I moved to Dallas, originally from Wisconsin, if you can't tell from my voice. Mostly when I say Wisconsin, most people are like, oh, okay, now I can hear it. So originally from Wisconsin. And I moved to Dallas, started as a sales rep, and now I'm in more of a sales leadership position as a sales training and recruiting manager. And so I do a presentation for college students on From Backpack to Briefcase because it honestly was kind of a wake-up call, going from having a rigorous schedule and, okay, you do this on Wednesday nights, you do this on Friday mornings, you do this at this time, to, okay, here's your territory, go get them. So I share some different advice and tips and things that they can be doing all the way from their junior, senior year of college to after getting into their career for a couple of years. So all of the steps, including interviews and first day on the job, things like that.
Well, that's kind of interesting because for a long time, the feedback that we have gotten when companies hire our sales graduates is that they're, by and large, very well prepared to sit in front of the customer, to ask questions, to have that conversation. But it's all the other stuff that they sometimes get slowed down with. So, and it sounds like that's what you're describing as well. And specifically, the feedback that we've gotten has been around cold calling. Okay, if I could get in front of the customer, I could ask good questions, I could do a great job, I could sell some stuff. But it's the fact that, okay, 80% of my time maybe is spent trying to set up the opportunities to get in front of those people. And only 20% of my time actually in front of those people. And so we've tried to brainstorm ways to better prepare and condition people for these sorts of things, especially these mundane, these things that are very easy to get tired with very quickly, right? you're sort of so excited about your new job, and then a week passes, and then you're just bored because all you do is get hung up on all day.
Right.
So what was the nature, or what is the nature of this talk? What are some of the key things that you cover?
First and foremost, I start with, you guys are not going to get all of your clients after 2 weeks. I think that's the biggest phone call that I get, is them saying, Anna, I don't think I'm cut out for this. Anna, I don't think I'm going to do good at this career. Anna, I don't think I'm good enough to work for Henry Schein in sales. And I'm like, okay, hang on. You started about 30 days ago. Let's take a deep breath. Let's step back, because, right? I mean, everyone, it's all about instant gratification nowadays. I mean, if we want to order something, you go online, you do it. So everyone just expects sales to work like that as well. And when they start the career, and it just doesn't work that way. And so that's a big part of the conversation that we have, is you can't quit immediately. You cannot think that you're really bad at something because you've gotten 10 no's. You have to keep pushing through it. And some of the suggestions that I have for them to push through it is, you have to get really creative. So one of the things that I love about sales is how you have creative freedom. So at least for Henry Schein, where I work, if you have an idea about some sort of marketing you want to do, or you want to promote a different product, or you want to send out newsletters, I mean, you do it. Whatever it's going to take for you to get in front and sit down with those customers, where our students really do excel at, you get to be creative in how you get there. And so I have a conversation with them about how you have to set aside creative time. And so often we want to, okay, let's get out on the road. I'm going to hit the ground running, boots to the pavement. We're going to do it. Or if you're in inside sales, just call. And it's like, okay, before you do that though, what is your plan? What exactly is your plan? Because if you're going in there to say, hi, I'm Anna with Henry Schein, and I wanted to ask you a couple questions, or I'm just checking in on you. Okay, you're probably like the 10th person that's done that today. So what is your plan when going in there? So you always have to set aside that creative time. For me, it was Sundays at Panera. I would drink tea and I would come up with what my week was going to look like. So setting aside that creative time is something that I talk to them about a lot as well. And then also a big thing that shocks me that people don't do is pre-call plan. I mean, everything you want to know is on the internet. Like, I joke around and I'm like, you guys have to be a creep. Like, you have to look the doctor up on LinkedIn. You have to look at their Facebook. You have to look at their website, take notes on all of that. And so those are some of the things where it's like, you have to add different things to your routine, and you have to get really creative to sit in front of that person, because you're probably like the 12th sales rep that's gone in there.
Well, and I think, who did I talk to about this? Maybe it was Lee Sellers a few episodes ago, where he was saying that sometimes the students are actually able to bring more creative, more novel, stranger, weirder ideas to the table of how to get in front of people, which I found kind of encouraging, right? Simply because they're not, they haven't gone through all of the seminars that give them the exact same advice on how to cold call somebody or how to approach somebody, right? And they can just sort of think, well, what if I show up with a box of donuts and a smile on my face?
Yes.
All right, fine, try it. So, but when you're talking about creative time, I can see that, because to me, that's like the time where you would just be quiet. And that seems like what people really hate these days,
Yes.
I have to sit and be quiet. That's going to be real tough, because I can check my phone. I can pull up YouTube. I can, there's always something to be doing. So to discipline myself to sit quietly, I can see that being a challenge. Similarly, with the creativity and the pre-call planning was the other thing you mentioned. I can see that, again, because it feels like if I'm not desperately, obsessively trying to get in front of customers, then maybe it feels like I'm not working that hard.
Exactly. It's not like, I think people have the misconception, exactly what you just said, that not necessarily tangible what you're doing, right? Like, you're not going and handing out papers, you're not having quotes getting signed, but you're going to get to those tangible sales. You're going to get to those meetings by doing that quiet time and having those calls. But it is very, very difficult. It was super weird and difficult for me too when I first started, because I'm like, I feel like I'm not working hard enough. I feel like I'm not doing enough to actually be in front of the customers. But I found that when I set aside that time, my week went way smoother than it was without having that stuff planned. But you're right, it is very, very difficult. And so you have to block it out in your calendar. That's a big thing that I'm learning now, is if you don't block it out in your calendar, it's not going to happen. Mostly when you're in sales, because you're putting out fires all the dang time. Your phone is going to be ringing with either your internal team, something's wrong, or a customer, maybe something's going on. So if you don't set aside that time to actually sit down and pre-call plan and sit down and be creative, you won't do it. And that's an issue that I found for myself when I first started. And so my recommendation is always block it out. And then when you do block it out, set a timer, turn your phone over, turn it on silent, and just put your head to paper and get it done and work.
The other thing that's interesting about that is that I can certainly think of instances where the opposite behavioral tendency becomes a problem, right? Where somebody only wants to plan and only wants to research, and it turns into the excuse for sales call reluctance.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that absolutely does happen too. And they're like, yeah, I'm not prepared enough. I don't know everything about dental. I mean, hell, I don't know that much about dental either, but it's having a conversation with the dentist and figuring out what their needs are, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what sales is about is, okay, what challenges do you have and how can I help you overcome those? What resources do I have that are going to make you successful in that category? And so I've definitely had that conversation a lot too. So I'm so glad that you said that. And one thing that my mentor always told me that has really stuck with me is sales is running into the fire. You have to be willing to run into the fire in sales. You are never going to have all the answers, and that's okay. But you have to be willing to run into the fire in order to be successful. And that's because I'm definitely one of those people where I'm like, well, I have to have all the answers. I'm going to look stupid if I don't know. And it's like, okay, no, you got it. Go in there, have confidence. And when you don't know the answer, just be honest that you're not sure. But you better sit your butt in their waiting room or get in your car and call someone who has the answer and then walk back in and give it right to them.
So then in your planning and in your life, how do you balance those things? How do you know if you've done enough or if you need to do a little bit more? Or maybe how can you tell when it's becoming a way of procrastination? What are the things that you look for in your life?
And is this personal or professional?
Yeah, I mean, I guess professional, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing some research. How much is enough?
So right now I'm thinking about a project that I'm actually working on right now where I'm rolling out a training on our website for our reps to better understand how to utilize our website and to also have our customers order more from our website. And that was something that I did think about. I'm like, you know what? I'm one person. I'm going to be giving this training to hundreds of people. I should probably get some feedback from them, right? Because I'm not the only one who's used it. I'm not the only one with insights. So what I did is I put together a group of some of our reps that have the highest e-commerce sales, and we got on a call and we had a whole conversation about it. And then on top of that, I did have that feeling of like, okay, I don't think this is enough. And so I set a goal for myself that I wanted to talk to at least 20 people about it. The top 20 people I had to talk to and get their feedback from. It's more so, not the greatest answer, but it's more so I set goals for myself and I honestly do not stop until I hit those. Like I've probably set too many goals. Like most people are like, okay, I have 3 really good SMART goals. Man, if you saw my to-do list with my goals right now, I mean, it's long because I have to check those boxes. And so for this one, I think of my project and I think, okay, what is the goal in order for me to say, you know what, yep, I'm ready to move on to phase 2 of it, or I'm ready to present it here. So I break it into chunks. One of the best pieces of advice my mentor gave to me was make the complex simple. So that sounds really, really complex when you first get a project like that, right? It's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? There's so many parts to it. So breaking it down and making the complex simple has been a term in a way that I have worked through tasks ever since he told me that. And it's helped a lot because it makes it a lot less scary to start.
Now, you've mentioned your mentor a couple of times.
Yes.
Who is your mentor?
So his name is Chris Violet, and he was Henry Schein sales rep for a little bit over 20 years. And I did a co-travel with him when I first started. So I got in his car. It was my first day, and we went to all of his customers. And him and I just hit it off. What I did, here's the thing about having a mentor, and I get a lot of questions about this, is you got to speak up. You have to set time to talk to that person again. And so I was like, do you mind if, we have weekly phone calls, which eventually turned to daily. And so I asked him the question of, I love your sales style. I appreciate you working with me. Do you mind if I reach out to you when I have questions about things or I'm going through a rough patch? And let me tell you, if you do not have a mentor, you do not have someone like that in sales, good luck. Like you have to have someone to be able to work through things and also celebrate the wins too. And he was that person for me. And it was simply because I went on a co-travel with him And that was 2 years ago. And now I am celebrating birthdays with him. I went over there to play cards with him and his family. I mean, he's like my person now. So not only has he helped me, I would not be where I am right now if it was not for him professionally, but also personally, he's someone that I can really, really rely on.
And my follow-up to that was going to be, I think, something you've already answered, which is, was that sort of some companies will assign a mentor to you formally, and others will do absolutely nothing. And if you get a mentor, it's because of your own effort. And this seems kind of like you weren't assigned to him as a mentor, but you were assigned to him as a trainee for a day, but you were able to sort of proactively turn that into a more rigorous, more robust type of mentorship.
Correct. Yep, exactly. And so we actually did just start a mentorship program. And I think that is really great when companies do direct you to someone as being your mentor. But I will say that's a company assigning it to you. There's a different level of trust. There's a different level of your friendship when it's someone who you just connect with without it being an assigned connection, So
Yeah,
I think
sure.
it's great that companies offer that, and Henry Schein is one of them. But I would challenge anyone moving into a sales position, even not moving into a sales position. I mean, heck, message someone on LinkedIn who has a cool job that you're interested in or an industry you want to learn more about and ask them for a phone call. I mean, that's really all it is set up that conversation with someone who you aspire to either be like them, how they are, towards customers, towards their team members, or the industry that you're interested in. Just reach out to them and ask for a phone call. That's really all it takes. So I would say, yes, our company does a really good job, obviously, with setting up the program, but there's a different level of connection when it's just someone who you click with.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. And do you just have the one mentor, or do you have a couple people that you triangulate between?
So I have a couple different people. He is like my main go-to, but I also have mentors outside of the industry as well. And one of them, I encourage people not to use their parents as mentors. I definitely would, but my stepdad is actually he's a business owner, so he has been my mentor in terms of when to not give up. So when because I mean he started from nothing, no college degree, and now he has built this wonderful business, and I'm so stinking proud of him. And so he's been my mentor outside of Henry Schein, where when I'm driving home, when I was out in the field, I'd be driving home and I'm like, well, I've been to this many accounts and it's 4:30 and a lot of offices are closing, so maybe I should just go home. And as my mentor in that situation, he would always ask me a question to see where my brain was really at. And I was like, you know what? Nope, one more. We're going to do one more. We're going to do one more. So he was more of a mentor of challenging me. And then I also do have a couple other mentors outside of the industry as well. My financial advisor is a wonderful mentor for me, and also someone who used to work for Henry Schein, who is now at another dental company. She is just like female boss leader, who's someone I can always go to for, obviously being a female in business can be a little bit different at times. And so she's another person that I go to. So I would encourage people to have mentors, multiple, within the industry and outside of the industry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And since it is kind of a two-way street with mentorship, what was sort of your value proposition to these people to be your mentor? I mean, what's in it for them to help you?
So it's funny that you ask that because I was on the phone one time with Chris and I was in a CVS parking lot and I was crying because I'm like, I have been told no like 15 times today. I just don't know if I can do this. And of course, I'm on like month 3, and now I am on the other end of the phone call talking to people like that. And I'm like, okay, you've just started. Come on. And so he's having that conversation with me, and I'm crying at CVS. And I'm like, and then on top of all this, I'm interrupting your day now, and you're listening to me in tears when you should be out working. And so I'm feeling bad that I'm interrupting his day. And he was like, Anna, you have taught me so much. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how on earth have I taught you anything?
You taught him how to cry in a CVS parking
Right.
lot.
Right. Like, is that what I taught you to do? Because I mean, man, I'll call you more. No, but he was like, you've taught me so much, because he's like, I have to go back to when I was first starting out as a rep and some of those small details that I forgot about sales. And he's like, and honestly, I cold call more now. He was like, I used to not do that. And he was like, but I had to remind my brain some of these small sales strategies, some of these different things that I'm now teaching you that I just got. I mean, he became a little bit complacent because he's doing well, he's successful, he has good relationships with his office. And so you're like, well, no, I don't need to make a cold call, or I don't really need to talk to the person at the front desk anymore because I'm best friends with doctor. And so he became complacent with some of those things, and me having to refresh his memory in some of those areas, he said was really, really helpful for him. I will say though, I have never given like a value proposition of like, what is it? What is in it for them? And I think that's a really good suggestion for me that I should do when talking to these people. But I will say, I really haven't ever been turned down from having a phone call with someone. I mean, people like talking about themselves. People like talking about what they like doing. And so reaching out to people with genuine curiosity, which is a superpower, by the way. When you reach out to them with genuine curiosity, I really have not gotten turned down, but I will say having some sort of a value proposition is a really great idea and something that I should probably work on. So, hey, thanks for the advice.
Did I just become a mentor?
Yeah, you might have. You might have.
This is a lot of pressure. I don't know.
Next time I'm in my CVS parking lot crying, I'll give you a call, okay?
You can give me a call.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, who is this? The signal's breaking up because I don't know how to deal with emotions.
Like what?
I ask because a lot of what we do in sales is based around this value proposition,
For
right?
sure.
I mean, we tell ourselves, and I think rightfully so, that we're not running around asking for charity. We're not running around asking for donations or something that's not in the best interest of the customer. And I found, it can be a little tricky when you just need to ask for something. Like I get insanely uncomfortable when I just need to ask for something.
Yeah.
If it's not clear to me that there is a value exchange, I don't know how to just say, hey, dude, can you help me with this?
Right.
It's going to be, hey, if you can help me with this, maybe I can do it. It's like, okay, well, but yeah, people like to help. But to your point, they certainly like to talk about themselves. That's what I'm banking on with this podcast.
It is honestly really weird that I'm not asking you questions back. It's kind of bothering me. I'm like, I feel like I need to ask him questions back. But no, I mean, that's exactly what it is with your podcast for sure. People coming on and just talking.
We're going to stop it right there for now. Please dive into the next episode of the Sales Lab to hear the conclusion of this interview. By the way, if you like what you've heard so far, be sure to subscribe and rate the podcast on whatever app you use to listen. Also, share this with your colleagues and friends, and let's continue to have a deeper discussion on all things related to selling and sales leadership. See you next time in the Sales Lab.